Let's chat about my end of the year reading with the end of the year book tag. Hello book friends, I'm Jen and welcome to my reading life and welcome to another tag video. I am back today to do the end of the year book tag. I've seen so many people doing this tag and it seemed like a really fun way to wrap up sort of my end of the year reading plans, and there are just a few questions, so I think we should just dive on into them. I have my handy dandy notebook here with all of my questions written down, so bear with me while I look down to read them. But question number one is, are there any books you started this year that you need to finish? And yes, 100%. I have 3 books that I am going to finish before the end of the year. These are my biggest goals, I think, or one of them is to finish these 3 books. The first is my year-long read-through of Middlemarch by George Eliot. Now, technically, I started this last December. I've been reading it along with the original serialization schedule. So I am currently in volume 7 or book 7, whichever it's called. And book 7, volume 7 was published in November, and then the last volume, and I think there's like a little epilogue, were published in December. So I just have those last 2 to finish up. You can see I am well on my way. I think I'm almost 80% done, and I'm mostly listening to this on audio. The audiobook read by Juliet Stevenson is fantastic, and this is definitely going to be a favorite of the year. I have thoroughly enjoyed my time in Middlemarch. Then the next book I have to complete is a book of poetry. That is Mary Oliver's Devotions. And I started this earlier this year with the plan to read a poem every morning or every day at least. And I've not wholly kept up to that schedule, but I have challenged myself to read 2 or 3 poems every day from last week until the end of the year, and I think that will get me through the entire collection. As you can see, I'm pretty far along. I don't have that much more to go, and spending a few minutes with Mary Oliver every day is just absolutely lovely. Her language, her descriptions, I've underlined so much in this collection, and I'm looking forward to moving on to her collection of essays next year, which I talked about in my last nonfiction video, which you can find linked in the description box below if you want to hear more discussion of some nonfiction books. And then my final book I want to finish up this year is The Diary of a Provincial Lady by E.M. Delafield. This is actually a bind-up of all 4 of the Provincial Lady novels. I've completed Diary of a Provincial Lady, and I am in the middle of The Provincial Lady Goes Further. And then there's The Provincial Lady in America and The Provincial Lady in Wartime. So I still have a ways to go. I'd hoped to finish this by the end of November. Not 100% sure if I will finish it entirely by then, but I will get this finished in December, so well before the end of the year. And this is such a fun book. And I'm really curious, as I was reading it, I was wondering if Helen Fielding, who wrote the Bridget Jones Diary books, I was wondering if she was inspired by this at all, because there's something about the cadence of the way Delafield writes her prose that reminds me of Helen Fielding, only because I've read Helen Fielding first, and I feel like maybe she was influenced by this book. But I'm gonna have to do a little research on that because I'm really curious, but so fun. Okay, so that's the first question. Question 2 is, do you have an autumnal book to transition into the end of the year? And yes, I do, because I'm reading I am reading my very favorite classic of all time, which is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. And this just has, I feel like, so much autumnal vibes to it. It's got a very gothic feel to it with Thornfield. We get lots of descriptions of the weather and it being cold and rainy. And I feel like that just kind of feels like fall to me. And every time I want to reread Jane Eyre, which this is actually my very first reread of Jane Eyre, I can't believe it. I've been saying this is my favorite classic for so long, but I'm halfway through and it is 100% still my favorite classic of all time. It is an amazing novel, just unputdownable. I have really struggled to not keep turning the pages every single day, even though I have other things I need to read. So this is just, I feel like, a lovely transition from those sort of like spooky October reads into more wintry reads. I feel like this bridges the gap really well. Question number 3 is there any new release you're still waiting for? Yes. So excited that the Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon Volume 8 is coming out on December 3rd. Beth Brower just released the release date for that book, and it doesn't look like it's available yet for pre-order, but I am checking every single day until it is, and then I'm going to pre-order it because I cannot wait. And as you may know, if you've been watching my channel, I am hosting a read-along of the entire series of Emma M. Lyon. We're going to begin in January and read our way through a volume a month until August or September if volume 9 comes out before September of next year, and just discuss the wonderfulness that is Emma M. Lyon. So if you are at all interested in joining in on that, come back here on Friday. I'm going to have my announcement video all about the Emma M. Lyon read-along, what we are going to be doing, how you can participate, and all of that good stuff. So please be sure to check back on Friday so you can find out all about all things Emma M. Lyon. But I cannot wait for the next volume. Volume 7 was so good. And I'm so curious where the story is going to take us from here. Moving on to question 4. Question 4 is, what are 3 books you want to read before the end of the year? Okay, I have my 3 books right here. The first book I want to read before the end of the year, which I'm going to read this month, is, of course, the final novel in the Dorothy L. Sayers Lord Peter Wimsey series, and that is Busman's Honeymoon. Hope to start this later this week, but this is the wrap-up to all of the Lord Peter Wimsey goodness I have been reading this year, and in December I will do a full wrap-up of all 11 of the novels that I read this year, rank them in order of my favorites to least favorites, and talk all about the Lord Peter Wimsey series, so stay tuned for that. The next book that I want to read before the end of the year is my final book for my TBR 24 in 24 challenge, and that is Peace Like a River by Leaf Anger. And I saved this for December. Something about it just felt like it would be good for December. So I'm hoping that it is. I'm hoping that it has some like wintry atmosphere to it. I don't know if it does or not. If not, that's okay too. I've heard that it's sort of a quiet novel, that it's more introspective, and I feel like in the winter months I'm more drawn to books like that. So that's kind of why I saved it for the end of the year. I've heard nothing but praise for this book, and so high hopes for this one. And then my final book I want to read before the end of the year, I had to put in a festive holiday read here, and this one is the #1 holiday book I want to get to this year, and that is Christmas at Cold Comfort Farm by Stella Gibbons. I read Cold Comfort Farm last year, and I absolutely adored it. So good, so funny, and I just want to go back to Cold Comfort Farm, and so I'm going to this Christmas, and I cannot wait. Question number 5. Is there a book you think could still shock you and become your favorite book of the year? Well, favorite book of the year, I don't know. I tend not to like pick just one book that's a favorite. I'm going to do a whole wrap up of my favorites of the year in early January. But I do have one book, which I just mentioned in the 3 books I want to finish by the end of the year, that I think could be a contender to get onto that list. And that is Peace Like a River by Leaf Anger. I've heard just so many wonderful things about this book, and I've read some very sort of quieter, more introspective novels this year that are going to also be on my favorites list, and I think this might also join those, but we shall see. So stay tuned to find out if this makes it onto the favorites or not. And then, of course, I could read something else if I, receive a book for Christmas and decide to read it in the week after Christmas. I've had that happen a number of times in the past, where a book that I read right at the end of the year becomes one of my very favorite books of the year. We'll see if that happens this year. Who knows? And then the final question for the end of the year book tag is, have you started making reading plans for next year? Yes, I absolutely have started making plans for next year. I have a lot going on here on my channel, so those things I definitely need to take into account when I'm thinking about my reading for next year. So I have started making a few goals, and I know I keep hinting at this, but I am going to be having a video coming out about this soon. I am doing a Read My Bookshelves challenge for 2025 because you guys, I mean, this, and other than this shelf right here, this entire bookcase plus another matching bookcase of this, plus some shelves out in the loft area of our house, all contain books that I have not read. And that's a lot of books. I've actually been working really hard the past few weeks to get all of my books inputted into BookBuddy, which is a wonderful app where you can track literally where your books are physically in your house. So you can say, I mean, you could be down to like where it is on what shelf. I'm not being that specific. I'm more telling, is it in my here in my reading room? Is it in our loft area? Is it downstairs? You know, is it in my bedroom? Where is this book housed normally? You know, if I'm not reading it, if it's sitting on the shelf. And I really want to get that done so I know exactly how many unread books I have on my shelves physically as of January 1. I'm hoping to get all those books into BookBuddy in the next week or so. That is my major push this week so that I can film that video and give everybody a good idea of what kind of numbers we're starting with. And then I'm going to talk about all the parameters I am setting for my Read My Bookshelves challenge. And I am definitely inviting anyone who's interested and wants to read off of their own shelves to participate with me. You can follow along with sort of the rules that I'm setting up for myself, or you can create your own rules, however you want to do it. I think I have so many books on my shelves that I just know have wonderful stories inside of them, and I want to read them. So that is going to be my main focus for next year, and also to maybe curb the book buying just a little bit. I'm not going to say I won't buy books, but I am setting up a rule for how many books I can buy, when I can buy them, that kind of thing. But again, that video will be coming out later this month with all the details. So yes, I have definitely been planning my reading for next year. I already have some buddy reads set up, group reads. We have January coming up in January where we are reading Persuasion. You can find all the information about January in my announcement video, which I will link down below and here in the cards. So please feel free to check that out. There's still plenty of time to join us, and it's going to be super fun, I hope. And we already have a wonderful group set up on Discord, so please come and join us. You can find the Discord link here in my bio, also in my bio on Instagram, so you can come on over and join us to read some Jane Austen in January. And then of course we have the Emma M. Lyon read along as well. So lots and lots of good stuff coming next year. I am really excited about my reading for next year and what my reading life is going to be like. And I'm so excited to take you all along with me on that journey. And that is the end of the year book tag. I would love to know from you guys down in the comments, are there any books that you really want to either complete by the end of the year that you still haven't finished, or are there any books that you want to pick up and read by the end of the year? Definitely share all of those in the comments or answer any of the other questions from this tag. I think it had some really fun questions in it. And if you have your own BookTube channel, consider yourself tagged if you would like to do this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for commenting, for hitting that like button when you like those videos, and subscribe please if you aren't already subscribed. I'd love to have you as part of my community, and I'll be back with another bookish video very soon. Bye.